Hello. Um, so Sophie's bookshelf review made me very jealous, and so I've decided to do the same. But I'm gonna show you the books that I have decided to bring with me to while I'm staying at my boyfriend's, uh, instead of the ones that I've left behind. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. I was very um, I was very restrained with what books I brought with me. Um, so I'm just gonna I'll just talk through them, why I brought them. Yeah. So, first of all, there's this one, Rebecca Solnit's Memoir, which has just come out a couple months ago. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful book. She's written loads of really successful books of essays that you might have heard of, like A Field Guide to Getting Lost, which is like a history of walking, which is really brilliant. Hope in the Dark is another really good one. And then my favourite is The Mother of All Questions, which is a collection of feminist essays that came out in 2016. And I think that for me, uh, reading those texts was a really like before and after moment. It like gave me a lot of language to understand things I was struggling with, things that were exhausting me, all of these sorts of things. And I think that if I don't know, I think it's funny on our course because like we kind of hear about how objects are kind of designed with gendered expectations and all of these things and kind of patriarchal tropes of design, but we don't really hear that much about what feminist design practice actually means. And we also don't really get much of a kind of introduction to feminist theory. Instead, we get these kind of niche bubbles like new materialist feminisms, which I think is brilliant. But if you're not comfortable with feminist theory already, I don't know, I imagine that to be quite an uncomfortable step to take into those kind of really niche parts of feminist theory. And so I think that Rebecca Solnit, The Mother of All Questions, is a really, really good way in, especially if maybe you feel like it's not that relevant to you or kind of not to do with you because of your gender, or you just find the sort of language around it really impenetrable. I think that Mother of All Questions is a really, really, really good place to start. But anyway, this is Rebecca Solnit's memoir, and just like reading about a life that came to write like some of the most important texts for me that I've ever read was just so, so wonderful. And I thought I would read a little bit from this. Like, there's so many parts I could read, but I thought that this passage was particularly poignant right now. So this is from a chapter called Diving into the Wreck, page 184. Everyone is interdependent. Everyone is vulnerable. Everyone is penetrable, and everyone is penetrated incessantly by the vibrations of sound travelling into the inner ear, by the light shining in our eyes and on the surface of our bodies, by the air we must never stop breathing, by the food and water we take in, by the contacts that generate sensations that run from the surface of our skin to our brains, by the pheromones and bacteria we transmit inseparably to each other, by air and contact, by the smells that are tiny particles we have inhaled, by the myriad species of beneficial bacteria in our gut and elsewhere that constitute so vast a proportion of the human body that self is something of a misnomer, I can never say that word, misnomer, or at least a crowd and maybe a party. If you were truly impenetrable, you'd be dead in minutes, and there is a kind of deadening inertness that is part of the equation of imagining that you could be so. Very good. Recommend. Next book. There aren't that many, just so you know. Wounded Storyteller, Arthur W. Frank. I use this in my dissertation quite a lot, but I only read the chapters that seem particularly relevant. He writes about the narrative structures of illness, also very relevant right now, where we have this kind of narrative arc that is literally being circulated through graphs of how these next few months are supposed to go right, and it's all about keeping the curve down. It's like managing this narrative arc, kind of us all having the responsibility to kind of negotiate that as a form, as a shape, that we will all then collectively live through. I think that the kind of illness narrative theory is really interesting in relation to what's going on right now. But yeah, anyway, I only read a couple of chapters of this when I was writing my dissertation, and so looking forward to reading the rest of it. Next up, Elemental Passions. I just brought this because I find it really useful to read as I'm writing. Like if I'm struggling to like construct a sentence, like literally put it together, put words together into a sentence, I find the way the sentences are constructed in this really useful and kind of sharp and precise. And so like looking through it, finding a sentence that maybe does what I want in terms of syntax, I just find that really useful when I'm writing to kind of help get stuff out. It's also a very interesting philosophical text, very of its time, but that's okay. Yeah. The collection, Nina Lager. If you like willies, then you should read this. It's about a woman who is constructing a memory palace of penises. But I think if you're interested in sexuality, if you're interested in objecthood, this is a really brilliant read. Recently translated from French. Really, really visceral prose. Very good. Next, Lay It On Thick. This is a journal of kind of art writing, and it's got like little pubes all through it. I don't know if you can see that, right there. Which is a very nice feature, and it's all kind of like erotic art writing that came out of has been put together by a group of people who did an art residency together in Bangkok last summer. And it just sounds like they were all horny the whole time, but it's really good. Yeah, and there's some nice spreads, lovely publication, and I really like, I don't know, I kind of really like these textures through it, how it kind of looks like sweaty, smeared period blood or something. But yeah, really excellent journal of writing. It's like, yeah, I don't know, and you just pick something up and you're like, yeah, this is the thing. Anyway, Ocean, I've only read a couple of things from this. It is a, how do they describe it? A literature and arts magazine concerned with the contemporary sentiment. So it's like fiction, essays, journalism. I picked this up because I'm trying to find places where I can imagine my own writing sitting, and I thought this looked like the kind of publication I could see myself in. Yeah, so looking forward to giving that a read. It's also just a lovely object. Then got this from a secondhand shop recently. It's for Penguin Modern Poets series. They've got loads of them, and each one has 3 poets in it, like contemporary poets. Yeah, I haven't got into it yet, but it looks very good. This is the first in the series. It's called If I'm Scared We Can't Win. And I really like these little publications. So you kind of find and read stuff that you wouldn't usually otherwise, or I wouldn't usually otherwise. Yeah, and then the book I'm reading at the moment, Paul Takes Form of Mortal Girl. I've been wanting to read this for ages. Sam had a copy last time we were in the studios that he was really, really enjoying. I'm about halfway through, or just over halfway through. I have gotten into it now. The first third I was slightly unsure of. It's got a lot of characters that just come and go, which I understand why that can be nice, like the pace of it and stuff. But I find it quite difficult to care that much about interactions between characters if I don't really have a chance to get to know them. But I'm getting a bit more into it now. Yeah, anyway, it's fiction. It's about the character Paul can sort of at will morph his body uh, into that of into that which is like he can like change his size and look and stuff, but also can like make his penis like invert and turn into a vagina and grow breasts and all these sorts of things. And he just has lots of sex with lots of people through this book, basically, and then is in the form of a woman at a lesbian sort of camp thing, and like falls in love with this other woman who's a lesbian, and so sort of starts staying in that form for longer and longer periods of time because that's who this other woman wants to be with, if you see what I mean. And so it's kind of about, obviously it's a lot about gender. And there's some really interesting passages through it where like characters have kind of little monologues about stuff. I don't know. I'm enjoying reading it. It's nice and fast paced and easy to read, and that's fun. And Paul really likes Patti Smith, and I really like Patti Smith, so that's nice. But yeah, I was expecting it to be kind of filthier, I guess, but it's still good, and it's still, fairly graphic. Yeah, so they're the books that I've brought with me. Cool. So also, obviously this evening at 6:30 is Output Radio, and you can get on the radio links on the Output website, which is output.click. And then at 7, there is a kind of program called The Remote Body. You can find them on Instagram at The Remote Body. And I will be doing some poetry reading as part of their program this evening via Zoom. And I'm sure that the link will be in their bio if you check that out. Yeah, that's all from me. This has gotten very long. I hope you're all well and safe and warm. And how amazing was the applause for the NHS last night? It was really wonderful going out on the balcony and just seeing everyone. I don't know, it was really nice. Yes, okay, that's all from me. Bye.